While Nintendo would have you believe otherwise, I do feel we are rapidly approaching end of life for the Nintendo Switch, the original Switch. They're still pumping out games for it. They're still releasing games for it. They're still encouraging developers to release games under the Switch One banner. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs. I wanted to do a video about 10 platformers to start your Switch collection with. If you haven't started collecting for the Nintendo Switch or you've just not picked these games up, these are 10 platformers on the Switch that I think are wonderful. And we're going to kick things off with one of my favorites of all time, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove.
Yeah, I know I talk about Shovel Knight Treasure Trove a lot on this channel, but there's a reason for it. It's pretty much a perfect video game to me. I love this franchise. I love the character of Shovel Knight. I love the development team at Yacht Club Games. I think they are legitimately some of the best independent developers of the last 30 years in video games. I adore the work they do. I really do. And I think Shovel Knight Treasure Trove is something that not only speaks to their ability as developers, but also their integrity as a company. Because if you don't know, Shovel Knight was developed as a Kickstarter. There were a lot of stretch goals, and it would have been incredibly easy for them to punt on a lot of those, but they never did. They said something was going to be in there, it was. And the Shovel Knight Treasure Trove release gets you the entirety of the original Shovel Knight campaign, as well as the Plague of Shadows, Spectre of Torment, and King of Cards campaigns, where you get to play as different knights, as well as the multiplayer fighting game Shovel Knight Showdown. This is signature, fantastic gameplay. It's classic platforming. It feels like a lovely mix of both Castlevania and Mega Man. It's just wonderful. It's legitimately one of my favorite video games of all time, and something that I feel is a necessity for anyone on the Nintendo Switch that is collecting for that console to own.
Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, one of my favorite games of all time. One of, I think, the most necessary platformers and most important platformers of probably the last 20 years. I think there is something magical that Yacht Club Games does, and I can't wait to see what they do next. I've actually got a new game releasing later this month that I can't wait for. Up next, we're going to go with a limited release from my friends at Premium Edition Games. This is the brilliant roguelike, A Robot Named Fight.
I'm a sucker for a good Metroidvania. I'm a sucker for a good roguelike, and when you put those two great tastes that taste great together, together, you get something like A Robot Named Fight. And I was thrilled when Premium Edition Games released the physical release of this game because it's one that I think really does deserve it. It was not something that I did love when I first played it, but the longer I spent with it, the more I enjoyed it. It's a really solid game where you are playing as a robot named Fight, and you have to go through the levels to beat the game. Like it's something that changes every time you play it. It's never going to be the same labyrinth, never going to be the same maze, and it's worthwhile. It's really fun. It's a brilliant take on a roguelike to make it a Metroidvania where you're not only kind of like moving through the game and developing skills as you play, but also able to backtrack, but it's never going to be the same thing twice. So there's no muscle memory involved here, just a familiarity with how the game is going to play. And I think that's pretty awesome.
First couple times I played this game, I did not care for it. It was not something that I really enjoyed. And it's something now that I look at and I go, there's so much quality here built into what A Robot Named Fight does. And it's such a unique challenge that isn't really seen in other ways on the Switch. It's a wonderful game. The physical is getting a little bit more difficult to find and the price is kind of elevating as it goes, but if you have a chance to pick it up, if you see PEG at one of the many conventions that they go to, be sure to check it out. It's a fantastic title. All right, we're just going to follow up that Premium Edition game with another Premium Edition game release. And I promise not all of these are going to be limited run releases or limited releases. But this one I think is a wonderful game. And it's one of the best puzzle platformers I've ever played. This is Wonderling DX.
Oh, Wonderling, you might be one of the best releases that Premium Edition Games has ever done, because this game was brought to life by the Premium Edition release. Because not only did we get one of the best puzzle platformers ever released, we also got some really brilliant collectibles with it as well, which I think is awesome, but that is not why we're here. We're here to talk about the video game. And Wonderling is a collection of levels, a series of platforming levels where you are taking your little blue lemon bird guy. I honestly don't know what he is other than he's a bird, but he is also something else. And as you go through each level, you're going to need to make sure you are maneuvering, jumping, and avoiding enemies, and collecting the different things that you need to collect to complete the level. And as you go, there are going to be certain doors that will open based on what direction you're moving and not in another direction. And when you hit a wall, you'll turn around and start marching in the other direction. It is as simple a design concept as you can get, and the execution of the title is absolutely brilliant. It is legitimately one of the strongest independent video games I've ever played and one of the best puzzle platformers ever made as far as I'm concerned.
You know, my friend Chris says that this is his favorite independent game of all time, and I can totally see why. It's a fantastic title. Check his channel out right now. Link on the screen. It's a really great game, and it's something that can become incredibly frustrating because it's one of those games where you see what you need to do, but being able to execute what you need to do can be difficult. It's a great game though, and something that I just love. It's absolutely fantastic. If you haven't played it, you really should check it out. One last premium edition game release here, and this is a fantastic kind of Castlevania-esque platformer here, or more like Ronio's Tale if you've played that one on, I think there was a Switch release, but I have the NES cartridge of it. It's very much a 16-bit platformer. It plays a little bit like the original Castlevania. It's a little bit more exploratory based and not necessarily linear, but this is Cathedral.
I do love me some Cathedral, and this is a wonderful, wonderful Metroidvania release that is just fantastic. I absolutely love this one. It is a retro-style 16-bit type game that's kind of a hack and slash, like I said, a little bit like Ronio's Tale, where you're going to need to utilize your abilities and your kind of talents of figuring out the different levels and the different navigation skills you have to maintain to move through the game. It's a Metroidvania. You guys understand you're going to be backtracking a lot and using different skills to advance your way through the title. The gameplay is solid. The combat is really fun. The boss battles are tough. I will say that they can be unforgiving, but if you kind of tap into classic retro gamer, you're going to figure out the patterns and you're going to figure out what you need to do to be able to get through the levels. It's well worth putting in the effort because I think the game is absolutely spectacular. It's one of the more interesting platformers I've played in the last few years, and it's something that I think is really at home on the Nintendo Switch. It's a great game to look for, a great game to collect.
I think Cathedral's fantastic. I think it's a really strong title that was really well executed and something that just runs so flawlessly well on the original Switch. It's a great game. Obviously, it runs great on the Nintendo Switch too as well, but it's something that I think is really fun and something that I think is incredibly well designed. And it was a game that I felt really kind of like stuck the landing from the second you started playing. It wasn't anything that you needed to ease yourself into or kind of get used to. You just kind of knew exactly what you had to do. It was that intuitive when you played it. And I think that's something that's kind of should be celebrated, honestly. It's a fantastic game and just a wonderful, wonderful title. All right, everything from here on out, easily available at retail, not something that you're going to have to scour or have to fork over a ton of money for. I don't believe. There might be some more expensive stuff on here, but I think stuff like this game here, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, needs to be played by more people.
I really do enjoy it when franchises tend to reinvent themselves. The Prince of Persia franchise is one that has done it several times now. The initial Prince of Persia franchise was more of a puzzle platformer that was kind of navigation-based and could be unforgiving at times. It was incredibly advanced for its time, but it was a hard game. I don't think anyone will tell you that it wasn't, because it was very reliant on movement and placement and jumping and things like that were hard to get right on those classic games. And then we had the re-releases and not re-releases, but the reimagining of the Prince of Persia franchise with the Sands of Time series, which was one of the games that really brought me back to console gaming. And one of my favorite experiences on the PlayStation, Xbox, or GameCube. It's just a PlayStation 2, Xbox, or GameCube, I should say. It's just an absolutely amazing game. And the entire trilogy of the Sands of Time franchise is wonderful. And while there have been other Prince of Persia releases in that time, I think The Lost Crown is one that really takes advantage of what that franchise was capable of and reimagines it in such a way that makes it both compelling but familiar. Because the gameplay is a little bit different than traditional Prince of Persia. It's definitely more Dead Cells focused. It feels a little bit more related to that than it does to anything classic Prince of Persia, although there are classic gameplay elements from the previous games. But it's one to me that just kind of dances that line of paying tribute to what came before it while still trying to make its own mark in doing so successfully. It's a really remarkable title and something that I feel is a perfect representation of what Ubisoft is great at when they kind of take the handcuffs off of only putting out things related to their big franchises like Assassin's Creed. This is awesome, though. Really great game and something I think a lot of people may have overlooked, and that's a shame because it's a wonderful, wonderful game.
I'm a huge fan of the Prince of Persia franchise. I liked the original when it released on, I think I played it on a Commodore, maybe an Amiga when I was younger. But the Prince of Persia games for me that really made me a true fan of the franchise were the Sands of Time games on the GameCube, Xbox, PS2 generation. I thought those games were truly remarkable, and there's something really special here about the Lost Crown. It feels a lot like those games. Not like they don't play similarly, but it feels like a spiritual ancestor of those games, at least. Where it's, I mean, obviously it is, it's in the same franchise, but it's something where you can see that they drew on a lot of those design motifs and kind of those elements of what made those games great and applied it to this game, and I think it's pretty remarkable. Along those lines, this is one that I think kind of throws back pretty well to classic Ninja Gaiden games. This is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
If you're looking for something frustrating, if you're looking for something that is faithful to its original incarnation, that is faithful while still making its own way in the world and trying something a little bit different and being a little bit new, then you need to be playing Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, because yeah, it's definitely a Ninja Gaiden game. And if you have ever played one, you know what I'm talking about, especially when you have played the Ninja Gaiden 2D games, because this one is brutally unforgiving at times and frequently frustrating, but it's one of those games that, while frustrating and difficult and frequently rage-inducing, it's one of those games that is going to make you go, I know what I need to do, though. I know how to beat it. I just need to get the timing right, or I just need to get the attack right. It's one of those games that is hard and really frustrating at times, but incredibly rewarding when you finally complete a level. It's a really masterful release, and something that I think is just breathing fresh life into the franchise. I mentioned the Shinobi game as well after this gameplay footage here, the Shinobi game that released around the same time. Both of them are excellent. I just happen to have a physical of Ninja Gaiden, so I wanted to show it off.
Yeah, so Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is something that, when I look at it, I go, yeah, they understood the assignment. They knew that we wanted a new Ninja Gaiden game that was incredibly difficult, that was, dare I say it, frustrating at times, and didn't kind of tread lightly on the franchise. It was something that really dove in headfirst into what the franchise is notable for. And it could have been really easy to make something that was derivative and something that was really kind of resting on its laurels and didn't try anything ambitious, but we got something really clever and really cool. I really do enjoy this one. We got this in the new Shinobi game, back to back, which is really awesome. Both games are awesome. I don't have a physical for the Shinobi title, so I'm only showing off this one here. But I think Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is amazing. And rage is the right word, because it's definitely a Ninja Gaiden game. It's very difficult, and it will make you want to throw your controller. All right, we're going to stick with ninjas. Let's go with The Messenger now. This is a game that is in the same universe as Sea of Stars, so there's a good sense of humor here, but it's a little bit Ninja Gaiden, a little bit Shinobi kind of squished together, a little bit of time travel involved too.
The Messenger is sneaky because it doesn't start off as something where you think it's going to be this kind of crazy Metroidvania. It starts off as a very straightforward experience, like you are going point A to point B, and there's some humorous moments along the way where you're going to be talking to the shopkeeper and things like that make you go, ha 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 ha, this is a ninja game with a sense of humor. And then all hell breaks loose and it turns into a Metroidvania, and it is amazing. It is absolutely spectacular. I love The Messenger. It was an immediate play for me the first time I saw it. I think my friend Corey is the one who told me about it. And when I actually looked at it on the Steam page, I said, hell yes, I need to try this game out. It's magnificent. Unbelievably responsive controls, a wicked sense of humor. It takes place in the same universe as Sea of Stars. I mentioned that. And if you are a fan of that RPG, you need to play this, because there are elements in play in both games that are going to make a lot more sense lore-wise. But if you're looking for something that has traditional 2D platformer gameplay while still kind of turning the entire franchise on its head, especially after it gets used to a certain type of gameplay at the start of the game, The Messenger is something you need in your life.
Maybe time travel isn't the right word. Maybe it's dimension rift traveling, because you kind of go between 8-bit and 16-bit gameplay. It's, oh God, it's so good. It's such a brilliant title. It's one of those games where the first time I played it, and I think I originally played this on Steam, it was one that I was just like, this game is absolutely brilliant. What a remarkable title. What an absolutely remarkable game. And I loved it. It was something that felt like a loving throwback to classic 8 and 16-bit titles, and something to me that was just important and necessary and fun and wonderful and funny, but still incredibly difficult and wonderfully well designed. Like, some of the level designs in the game are absolutely brilliant. It's wonderful. And what a great, like I said, what a great tribute, right? And another game as well that I want to talk about that's a really good tribute is Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair, which is such a great throwback to Donkey Kong Country on the SNES.
The entire Yooka-Laylee franchise is a love letter to classic titles. The original 3D platformer Yooka-Laylee is certainly a love letter to classic, rare 3D platformers like Conker's Bad Fur Day, like Banjo-Kazooie. Certainly Banjo-Kazooie. Like, it feels like this is Banjo and Kazooie just cosplaying as a lizard and a bat instead of a bear and a bird. It's remarkable, though. Like, I love the 3D platformer, but where the franchise, I should say, really kind of set itself apart was with Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, because this is, again, leaning into those rare roots, and it's a love letter to Donkey Kong Country while still being a little bit different, because there's kind of 3D map exploration and things like that, but the actual platforming of the game is 100% Donkey Kong Country inspired, and it's amazing. It is an absolutely brilliant title that I don't think it does anything wrong. Like, if you want to go crazy and you want to try to beat the game on your first go, like before you do anything else, you can totes do that if you really want to. But the smart thing would be to go through the game and kind of, unlock more stuff and get more abilities and more life and things like that as you play. It's an absolutely brilliant game, and really just a super, super strong entry from the folks at Playtonic, because I think a lot of folks were kind of let down by the original Yooka-Laylee. It was something that they had high expectations for, and it didn't meet those lofty goals, and I don't think that's a fault of the people at Playtonic, but when Impossible Lair released, not a lot of people were expecting much, and instead, they got a brilliant title.
I loved the original Yooka-Laylee. I love Yooka-Replaylee, which is a remake of that original 3D platformer, but I think Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, the 2D platformer that has a little bit of 3D elements in it with the map exploration, but I think that is really where they figured out what they needed to do with the characters of Yooka and Laylee. Not to say that I don't love the 3D platformer, like I said, I think it's fantastic, but the 2D game is such a signature experience and such a wonderful, wonderful release from Playtonic. I think this might be one of the strongest 2D platformers ever made. I really do. I think that there's something here where it feels classic while still feeling fresh, and I think that is a really delicate line to walk and a really delicate line to balance yourself on, but they do it incredibly well, and that should be commended. So do the folks from Ubisoft, and we've already talked about them once, the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, but we're going to go now to a re-release. I think this is now the third generation this game has been re-released on, but I'm never going to complain about playing this game because it's fantastic. This is Rayman Legends, the definitive edition.
Rayman Legends has released on 8 different consoles now, over 3 different video game generations. This launched originally back in 2013 on the PS3, Wii U, and Xbox 360, and it last released on the Stadia, of all things, in 2021. And this game is magnificent, and it is dirt cheap. I legitimately found this at a Target on their kind of like video game end cap where all the games go to die, like all the like Barbie Horse Adventure and Monopoly ports go to die. And there was a copy of Rayman Legends for legitimately $5, and some of the best $5 I've ever spent on a game for the Switch. It's a classic game. It's a wonderful experience. It is just a phenomenal, phenomenal title featuring a signature character from the history of video games with Rayman, and a bunch of different unlockables and different levels and different things you need to do. And it's one of those games that as you play, if you don't collect everything you need to collect, you're going to want to run the level again and better your time and better your collection levels. It's wonderful. It's a perfect built-in replay value that just really can't be beat with a lot of games. It's absolutely magnificent.
This game's brilliant. I originally played this on the PlayStation 3. I got it for, I think, $3 on the PS3, and then I got it on the PS4. And I was literally blown away by how great this game was. And I was really excited to get it on the Switch, because to have it portably is just a fantastic thing, because I take my games on the go. I take my Switch with me pretty much every time I go on a trip, and this is one of the games that travels with me regularly because I just think it's so much fun. I love the Rayman games. I think they're classic, I think they're unique, and I think they do something by not trying to do too much, by making it just a 2D collectathon. I think they do something really remarkable. Now, a game like Dead Cells, that does something entirely new and does something completely different. Let's talk about that one real quick.
Dead Cells, I call this one of my favorite games of the last probably 25, 30 years. And I say that without any kind of hyperbole because I think it's absolutely brilliant. Because not only do you get just a brilliantly funny game that wears its heart on its sleeve and is just a remarkable series of design decisions and integrations with other IPs and just like a love letter to video gaming. That's really what Dead Cells is. It's also an unbelievably well-designed platformer that takes advantage of a magnificent combat system and brilliant upgrade path and just a series of progressively more difficult levels as you go. And this is something that I love and I think is something everyone should play that I've legitimately never beaten. And it's not because it's too hard, it's just because I get distracted trying to do too much, so I end up dying because I'm trying to kill every enemy and things like that. My kid has beaten it. They've gone through it, not a problem. I never have, though, and I don't really consider that a regret. Like, a lot of times I have regrets for not beating a title or finishing a title, but this isn't one of those because every time I play it, I enjoy myself immensely. I think it's seriously one of the strongest independent video games ever made, and something from the Switch library that I think offers a lot to a lot of different people. It's not just something for Metroidvania fans. It's not just something for fans of roguelikes. It's not just something for fans of platformers. It bridges a lot of gaps and it crosses a lot of aisles to bring a lot of people together to play a game, and it's absolutely wonderful. The Castlevania version that has all of the Castlevania DLC and stuff like that in it, and includes every other piece of DLC, is a fantastic addition to a physical collection and isn't expensive. I think I got mine for $25 or $30 at a GameStop or Amazon, I can't remember, but it's a wonderful thing to add and just a fantastic, fantastic game overall.
I just love it. I think it's an absolutely brilliant game and just one of the most wonderful platformers I've ever played. And it doesn't hurt that it's a roguelike, obviously. It's one of my favorite genres, but I just think it's fantastic. Have you played Dead Cells? Let me know. There you have it. 10 platformers I think are necessary to start a Switch collection with, things that I think are fantastic, wonderful, and a diverse array of playstyles. And while still sticking to traditional platformer norms that I think you may enjoy. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your favorite 2D platformers on the Nintendo Switch? I didn't include things like the original Metroid, any of the Mega Man Legacy collections, or even Super Mario Bros. U, because it just, they feel kind of ubiquitous. They kind of feel like something that is, everyone knows those are great, so I was trying to keep those off this list. I mean, obviously they're fantastic. They're great games, even New Super Mario U. That's my list. Let me know yours. I would love to hear what you think about platformers on the Nintendo Switch. Let me know what your favorites are. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and stick around. I'd love to have you be here. Check out the Patreon or the channel membership below if you really want to support the channel out. And until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.